listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
Gentleman, when people use the phrase big homie, it's kind of somebody that they look up to, somebody that they grew up with, that was kind of like the bully of the block. That really personifies this gentleman. He is the executive director of the Father's Wish Foundation. As a part of that foundation, goes by the moniker of Dr. Lifeguard, which he's going to explain. He is literally in South Florida preparing to go to Haiti on a mission trip tomorrow, where he's going to do some work with the local team down there, do some ministry, just really helping people out. Our next guest is also an alumnus of Pine Forest Academy, and he probably doesn't know this, but he is my frat brother in Sigma Psi Omega.
Yes, sir.
If you didn't go to Pine Forest Academy,
know.
you don't know nothing about that blue and orange. But we are frat brothers. I would like to introduce to my audience, like I said, the ultimate big homie. If you're looking at the show right now, you'll see a picture of him dunking, doing a windmill, and he's literally perpendicular to the rim. I want to introduce to everybody Damon Legette. What's going on, man?
Yes, in the building. Glad to be in the building.
We've come a long way. I remember growing up with you. I remember the stint that my family did in Trenton.
Yes, sir.
And I remember you and Lee Hines. I remember kicking it with you guys, all the older guys, and Kareem, and I were always trying to kind of be in the mix. And I remember
you was in good hands. You was in good hands in Trenton with me. You was in good hands.
So I remember being out in front of Mount Sinai playing kickball and hopscotch with y'all. You were maybe like 10, 11. I was like 8.
Yeah,
so
a
lot has gone down since then.
Yes, sir. That's where it all began for me, though.
That's where it all began. Tell us, Damon, about you have a really interesting story. I mean, everyone that I interview has an interesting story. We try to get people that are in the Christian community. Many of them are Adventists, but they're not always Adventists. But just your whole circuitous route to growing up. I know you grew up, you're a PK just like me. You're an East Coast guy just like me. But you've had some really interesting experience and obviously really excelled in the athletic realm and played a lot of ball, man. Just I say this often, but when I have a really good interview, I generally just get out the way and let them tell their story, man. Just tell us what it was like kind of growing up in the Adventist church, growing up as a PK, and how you really got into hooping at the level, and just take it from there. Okay,
for sure. Well, first I want to start off to say I'm proud of my baby bro. I was checking your workout. Take my hat off to you, man, for real. Your pedigree and what you have done in athletics is commendable. We need more strong black brothers to give back in that way, and I'll share my philosophy as far as I think athletics is the ultimate way to keep our young people, I call it in striking distance, right? Because if you want to save a life, which I do, no matter what block, neighborhood I go in, I want to save a life. That's where the moniker Dr. Lifeguard comes. My ultimate goal is to be able to save a life. But if you're not in striking distance, if you can't physically put your hands on them, how are you going to save a life? Right? And naturally, God has given me a out-of-this-world ability, and I didn't even know why I had the ability that I did to play sports the way I did, because football was the first love. y'all didn't get to experience the first gift, right? Pine Forest didn't have a football program.
Right.
if they did, it would be a whole nother chapter. All right, but so I had to fall back on the second love, which was basketball, but football was the first. But outreach with sports is the ultimate icebreaker. All right, so my story though, it starts in Trenton, New Jersey, like you said.
Trenton makes the world takes, baby.
Trenton makes the world takes. I felt very unique. I felt very unique in our circle as a PK because most other PKs, they grow up in the city, their fathers get picked up and sent to other cities. Right? So my grandfather, Frank Legette Jr., born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey, with all of his family and brothers and sisters. My grandmother, Aura Legette, born and raised with her 8 brothers and sisters in Trenton, New Jersey. All right. My father, their child, born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. My mother, Beverly Webb, with her 10 brothers and sisters and my 100 first cousins, born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. Her mother, Evelyn Webb, and her father, John Webb, born and raised in Trenton, New Jersey. So just imagine, my father gets the call. Now, my father was not in the church. My father was just like everybody else. But a minister came to Mount Sinai Seventh-day Adventist Church where you and I did our stint together, did a week of prayer, and my grandfather, Frank Legette, answered the call. My father was in high school, so my grandmother joined the church, my grandfather joined the church, my dad joined the church. He and my mom soon get married, and he answers the call to go and become a minister straight out the church. I mean, straight out the streets, right? First generation my pops is, all right? Mm-hmm. So this not some fourth, fifth legacy Adventism or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But my pops had the call, and my pops had a gift, all right? B and F student all through high school, but immediately when he answered the call, he gets to Oakwood. His first semester, he has 1 B and the rest A's, all right? And never got a B ever again from his undergraduate to bachelor's to master's degree and PhD studies, majoring in biblical languages, Greek, Hebrew, French, Aramaic, and German. All right, magna cum laude everywhere he went. You know what I'm saying? So to go from the streets getting D's and F's to answering a call, getting straight A's, magna cum laude at Oakwood, magna cum laude at Andrews, Ivy League, Princeton University, you know that's nothing but God.
Absolutely.
All right? So my church background took that route. But then he gets picked up and sent back to Trenton, New Jersey. All right? So all of my family, they from the streets. You know what I'm saying? So I call it dual citizenship. You know what I'm saying? It's dual citizenship. Because when my pops got picked up, he was a part-time pastor at first. You know what I'm saying? You know what that means, being a part-time pastor or a full-time pastor. You know what I'm saying? A full-time pastor is paid full-time. Part-time pastor, you got to do something else.
Yeah,
another side job to make ends meet. It's not enough money.
Right, you're putting the work in. You're putting the work in like a full-time pastor because you're trying to get on. Yeah. But you're only getting 30% of the pay and none of the benefits. Definitely.
Exactly. Right. So we back in Trenton, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? My pops is the spiritual priest of his whole family, bro. All right. When I tell you that on my pop's side, you know what I'm saying? And this is a testimony. This is not talking down about my family. This is just testimony. It might be 18 first cousins on my pop's side. It's 2 of them that didn't get caught up in the drug epidemic that ran through the 70s, 80s in Trenton, New Jersey. We talk about heroin. I'm talking about 20, 30-year heroin addictions, you know what I'm saying? Finally getting broken. Now all of his cousins, they all God-fearing in the church made it through, and that's a blessing and testimony of itself because most people don't even survive that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I come from. I call Trenton the the modern day Nazareth. You know what I'm saying? Can anything good come out of Nazareth,
right.
come out of Trenton? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's where I ended up. My pops, his second job was a maintenance man in the Trenton housing projects. All right? Those projects right next to Mount Sinai in North Trenton,
yep.
Roger Gardens, my pops was a maintenance man there. So I would get out of school at Mount Sinai, change my clothes, walk across the neighborhood to the projects, and I would hoop in the projects all day till Pops got off, 6:30, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's where the ability came from, though, bro. That's where the sports and hooping on the level that I hooped on came from. There was no playing in the projects when you was hooping with them. It was a cat who went to Trenton High. His name was Dave Mashburn. He was burnt as a kid, right? Like 80% of his body was burnt. His fingertips was like bent. But when I tell you this dude was dunking on Cat's head and all that, and so, you know, I'm kind of known for going to the basket kind of hard, and you talked about
right.
dunking and laying perpendicular to it. But that came from in the project watching Dave Mashburn. I'm like, if he could do it, I could do it. You know what I'm saying? So they made me into the beast that everybody ran into upon Forest. Those streets of Trenton, New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it all started. He gave me the ability. Go ahead.
So that's a good. I mean, that's a great kind of a great lead in to this discussion. So you're kind of talking about, for those listening to the Lance Day Radio Show, I'm talking with Damon Legette. He's talking about his upbringing. He's from Trenton, New Jersey. Really grew up in a street environment. Family is deep in Trenton. Pretty much the whole family, both sides are from the Trenton area. For those that don't know the East Coast, Trenton is pretty hood. Like, I've lived in Trenton. It ain't no joke. It's real out there. Like, it's real in Trenton. I remember going with my father to do like outreach and ministry and stuff as a little kid when I lived in Trenton. And I've lived in Baltimore, so I know hood spots when I see a hood spot. And Trenton is definitely not a place to get caught slipping, for real. So you got to talk about, you know, playing ball, playing against people that had more of a street or urban, you know, a bulldog type mentality. What was it like, Damon, when you transitioned and went to Pine Forge? You know, you get to Pine Forge, which in theory in the early 90s when you got there was a prep school, but I know that Pine Forge had a very interesting element as well. That's kind of the classic Pine Forge days, that late 80s, early 90s group.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of people that you rubbed shoulders with and went on to do some really excellent things moving forward. What was your experience like at Pine Forge and playing ball at Pine Forge?
All right, perfect. So there are a lot of people who may not agree with me, right? So in this segment, I'm always going to say, in my opinion. Okay?
Right.
So, in my opinion, that era that you speak of, that mid-'80s, right, mid to late 80s, on out to, I would say, probably about 2000,
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I call that the golden era of Pine Forge, right? I can't even say on out to 2000 because some changes happened in 1993 that, to me,
I think
kind of ended the golden era. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm gonna say early 80s to 93.
I got there in 93, and 93 was the last year of the golden era. When we came back the next year, it was not quite the same.
It wasn't the same, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, but speaking about when I landed in the golden era, right? Mind you, my older sister Terry Legette, she went to Pine Forge Academy first for 4 years. So for 4 years, I'm hearing the stories. I'm coming back. She's coming back with the worship songs. She's coming back with the stories of Skip Peace and Reg Moore and Jay Moore and Brian Street and Dorwin Lyles banging on cats and Troy Rory, and like I couldn't wait. I was salivating. I was dreaming about getting the Pine Forge, bro. I would go up on the weekend and everything that she said was happening, bro. I was seeing it before my own eyes, right? Now, mind you, yes, it's a prep school, but Reg and Jay Moore, they from the bricks. They from Brick City,
Right.
North New Jersey. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's from Philadelphia. Brian Street from Philadelphia, right? So the golden era was, I was coming straight out of Trenton into Pine Forest. It was like, you know what I'm saying, a family reunion. That's what it was. You know what I'm saying? We just happened to be up there at that school. The thing that cats don't realize about Pine Forest Academy, I'm going to put it all the way out there, right?
Oh, put it out there.
I'm going to put it all the way out there.
Because I rep all the time, but getting somebody.
Listen, man. The world came out with a documentary called Waiting for Superman. Waiting for Superman. If cats haven't seen the documentary, you need to go see the documentary, right? All throughout our inner cities, you know what I'm saying, through the mid-'90s, early mid-'90s, as a result of the No Child Left Behind educational movement that was implemented, right, which left all of the children behind, right? Instead of children getting a diploma, right, they gave them graduation certificates, right? So that on the books it wouldn't say that these kids dropped out. No, you don't drop out. Here, take this certificate, right? But when you don't drop out, you don't graduate with a diploma, and you take that certificate. The certificate wasn't worth nothing. You couldn't get student loans. You couldn't get nothing. So all it did was cook the books, so it looked like the dropout rate wasn't as bad as it was. No child left behind. But all of those graduates that just took the certificate, you couldn't get it to the service. You couldn't, nothing, right? So our educational system in the mid-'90s and 2000s, they started seeing the residual of that mess. You know what I'm saying? Half the school, ninth graders would get in. It would be 100 students in ninth grade. But by the 12th grade, that same graduating class, it would be 40% of them would have dropped off. 50% of them was dropping off. They call that a dropout factory. And lo and behold, when they started tracking it, it's all in the inner cities. It's all in our hoods. It's all in places where people of color dwell. You know what I'm saying? But during the same time, we had this beacon of light, Pine Forge Academy, that for the past 70 years has been graduating 100% of their students. 100% of African American males and females who walk with God for 70 years have been going to a place while the whole country is waiting for Superman and looking for Superman. Superman already came.
Right.
Yeah,
it's a special,
the jewel that everybody
place.
looking for. Pine Forest sitting on the jewel. You know what I'm saying? We got to go and be taught of the Lord and matriculate through a system where some of the greatest influences, man, you know the legacy of Pine Forge Academy alumnus, you know what I'm saying? The Take Six, come on, man, like, you know the pedigree. And
Absolutely.
So my thing was, we had a great thing going, right? But something happened at the end of the golden era. There was this big push to focus on academics, right? Pine Forge used to be a place, I'll tell you a story. My right-hand man, Keith Armstrong. Pine Forge is a place where cats who would have fallen into what they call there's something else called the forgotten middle, right? The forgotten middle is in middle school, from the grade 5th grade to 8th grade. Those kids in our inner cities, they're called the forgotten middle. There's a study on it, right? Now, I know all of this because I've dedicated 20 years of my life to saving dropout factory victims and people in the forgotten middle. Like this, they are the apple of my eye. That's what I do, right? But the forgotten middle is this. Anytime where they supposedly put together programs to help high school students go and encourage them to go to college, they target the 11th and 12th grades. You know what I'm saying? They target the 11th and 12th grades, but the forgotten middle study says that it's too late.
Right.
It's already too late. If you don't get them by the 5th grade, right, because in the 5th grade, kids who was getting A's and B's in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th without even trying All of a sudden, they get to 5th grade, and the whole math changed up.
Mm-hmm.
And the student ain't changed. It's the same. I've been getting A's and B's, not doing homework, just showing up and taking boom. Then all of a sudden, you hitting me with these standardized tests and this geometry and this algebra, whatever at the 5th grade level. They sending my kids home to do homework with no books. Bruh, how is a kid going to do homework and they don't have a textbook?
Right.
You serious? They sending these kids home, telling them to go do math problems off of something that they sat in class at 10 in the morning and the teacher done worked out a problem on the thing, and they want a 10-year-old, an 11-year-old to come home to a house where a mom is probably working 3 and 4 jobs, and mom probably dropped out, and grandma's probably raising them, and grandma probably ain't finished past the 4th grade.
Yeah, I think that's a key element. And before we break, I wanna kind of respond to that. I do a lot of studying, Damon, in my field. I do a lot of quantitative analysis and statistics. I work in the healthcare field, and a key component, especially in the urban inner city environment, mostly pertaining to African Americans. Also, you see classes of Latinos in this boat. People don't realize that African Americans that are elderly grew up in an era where they were denied the opportunities in many places to learn to read at a 12th grade level or even at a 6th grade level. Exactly. So if some of the ills that plague our culture, if you have situations where parents don't have it together and the father is not in the home, which is definitely a major issue within the black community, then you have grandma raising the children, but grandma may only have a 6th grade education. So how can you have someone who's a freshman in high school, right, studying geometry or studying algebra? Right. Who do they go to get help if they're being raised by their grandmother that doesn't have that education? So that's a very good point. We're going to break real quick on the Lance J Radio Show, but I'm going to come back with Damon Legette. He's really dropping some knowledge about the education system, but I also want to talk to him about his experience as he grew into being an adult and raising his family. I know that your son just graduated from Pine Forge recently, and some of the work you've done in Chicago and now what you're doing with your current endeavors, the Father's Wish Foundation. So we'll be right back on the Lance J Radio Show with more Damon Legette.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
We are back on the Lance J Radio Show. I've been talking to one of my big homies from way back in the day. Known this guy since Mount Sinai Christian SEA School in Trenton, New Jersey. We did not go to Pine Forge at the same time, but definitely share a brotherhood. Know a lot of the same people. Kind of runs the same at Oakwood Adventist University. Damon has been talking about his experience just growing up in Trenton and also talking about playing basketball at Pine Forge, really talking about the education system, which is something that my listeners really need to hear. If you could fast forward a little bit, Damon, I remember being at Oakwood with you as a freshman, and I actually remember, I never told you this story, but I took an accounting class with you, and you came into the accounting class. You had your son was in a stroller. And you were there, and you were putting in the work, and you were working hard and knocking out those grades, but you were taking care of your obligation. And I remember the teacher she was appalled that you would bring your son to class, but also respected the fact that you were young, but you were on your grind, you were on your hustle. You were not going to put your son down to move forward in your career and your education. You were going to be a full-time father and a full-time student. So kind of talk to us about how you started your family and then everything that you did as far as going to Chicago and when really your ministry started launching.
Perfect. So I get from Pine Forge Academy. I have all of this talent and ability. I get to Oakwood University, and at this stage in my life, I got to be 100% honest, okay?
I'll be honest.
At that stage in my life could have gone either way, okay? I had to make a decision as a man, literally, all right? I had been raised in a house and had been taught of the Lord, right? This was my second stint at Oakwood, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? My pops was there in the seminary, you know what I'm saying? And so I had been on the grounds at Oakwood since 2 and 3. You know what I'm saying? My pops was tutoring cats in Greek and Hebrew, and because he was magna cum laude, right? So I'm in the room, and they don't even know the words, and I'm translating the words for them. I'm like, that's blepo. That's blepo. 4 years old, son.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So this is my second time at Oakwood. So now I'm at Oakwood as a young man, and I'm in the valley of decision. I'm like, I don't want to know what Frank Legette believes. What does Damon Legette believe?
Right.
You know
we all get there. Get there.
I mean, I can regurgitate the 2,300 day prophecy.
Right.
I can regurgitate the 70-week prophecy. I can regurgitate the sanctuary. I mean, can't nobody do it better as far as I'm concerned. You know what I'm saying? I could take you all down through Daniel 2. You know what I'm saying? Every beast of Daniel 2. Right? We can go on down to Daniel chapter 7. We can go over down to Revelation chapter 13. You know what I'm saying? And we could talk about the beast that rose about the sea. Like, I mean, as far as I was concerned on the spiritual the way my pops had put it in me, I felt like you can't touch me on this realm. But I would say I was the same way with the streets. You know what I'm saying? I felt untouchable. I felt untouchable because I had a hedge of protection around me. I didn't realize I had a hedge of protection around me because God was going to do something through me, right? But I was taking credit for that hedge. You know what I'm saying? I was counting it as me. I'm doing this. You know what I'm saying? I'm walking these streets, going to any neighborhood across the country, Nash Park, Brooklyn, New York, hooping all day, any day. Never a burner, never nothing, never no beat. No, I could go to any. I've been in every city, you name it. I just dropped down on the basketball court and I got next. It's been that way all my life, bro. I've never had no fear, no nothing, man. So I'm at Oakwood, and I'm trying to decide. And there was an incident that happened on Oakwood campus, right? There was an incident that happened on Oakwood campus. You know, we got a curfew. We're supposed to be in at a certain time. I had done the dorm thing, though, for 4 years at Palm Forge Academy. You know what I'm saying? It was played out to me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not keeping curfew. So I got involved with an incident. Police was chasing me. It's after curfew. And, you know, if I had got caught in that situation, I was expelled. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? And an individual intervened. I was able to get away because of this individual's window happened to be open on the first floor, and I dove through it. And he didn't say a word. He ain't even blink. He ain't even flinch. My right-hand man, Curtis Williams, we call him SBI, Spider Low. He didn't flinch. He's from L.A. He could be like, yo, what's going on? Calls the rucking state. It came right down to nothing, man. He sat on his bed like I just served him a cup of tea, son. I couldn't believe it, right? So I'm scratching. I'm like, yo, man, they chased me, man. I'm sorry, whatever. He's like, man, you could, whatever, just whatever. So I go back, you know what I'm saying? We got a lifelong friendship to this day, right? But that incident, my eyes was open in that incident. I realized I'm at a campus with people like E.T., the hip-hop preacher, and you know what I'm saying, Bell Tower Ministry, and the Aeolians, and come on, my eyes was open, and I'm like, man, listen, cats at home and Trent, they ain't not exposed to this. They not exposed to this, and you trying to throw it away. And the only difference between you and your cousins on back home is you've been exposed to something that they're not exposed to. You have access to resources that they don't have access to. That's the only difference. They would be excelling in life just like you would if they had the same access to the same resources. They would be rubbing shoulders with some of the best people in the country if they had access to resources. So now it's a responsibility. Now it's a responsibility to give access. And at that point in my life, as a 20-year-old, I determined for my own self, listen, I'm going to take responsibility for these opportunities that I have, and I'm going to open doors of opportunities to anybody in any hood, in any wherever, I don't care where they from, because but for the grace of God, there go I.
Wow.
And my life was changed in that one moment right then and there, and me and a group of 7 of us, we locked ourselves in a room for probably a semester. And when we came out of the room, as alienation. We live in this world, but we not of this world. This world is not our home. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 through 6. Though we live in this world, we not of this world. The weapons that we fight with are not the weapons of this world. On the contrary, our weapons have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension, that's every imagination that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. And we will be ready to punish every act of disobedience once your obedience is complete, meaning the sons and daughters of God. Once you get your act together, we're going to be ready to punish every act of disobedience, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right?
Right.
But against principalities, right? So we as 20-year-old young men, we understood that there are strongholds that it's our job to demolish. My cousin ain't going to get this info, so I got to get this info from prayer meeting, from inspiration, from whatever, and I got to go and demolish the strongholds. So when you see me in that class, bro, when you see me in that class with my son, it was because I realized my life was saved because I got access to resources and I'm going to take advantage. And so I had to talk with Miss Brathwaite. That was our teacher.
Yep.
And she was like, I'm going to do this for you. Yo, and she was not playing, bro. She was like, if he makes one sound, and yo, bro, when I tell you the Lord gave me a soldier, my son is a soldier, son, from day one. She told me if he makes one sound in this class, you will withdraw. You will be out of here. Yo, my son was the best person in the class.
Your son was probably a better student than me in that class.
My son wasn't even 6 months old, son. Think about it, bruh. He wasn't even 6 months old, bruh. I would bring the dude in class. I'm not picking him up. I'm not holding him. I'm not correct. He sat right in his little rocker, arms folded, chilling.
Man. So for those listening in Lance Day Radio, so Damon Legette in here just really spitting that heat. I mean, I haven't heard a testimony quite like this as far as this stuff is really coming from the heart. I mean, it's really just an excellent discussion. And Damon, it's just interesting because your father's a pastor, my father's a pastor. I'm sure you grew up with people saying that, yo, Damon, when you going to get that call, man, when you going to go into ministry? I know that's all I heard. I actually went to Oakwood as a theology major because I was confused and didn't become unconfused until I realized that wasn't a calling.
I'm glad you used that word.
However, ministering is everyone's responsibility. So just because you're not on stage with the robe or with the crosses on the lapel, that doesn't mean that you don't have the responsibility to minister and go out and help souls and bring souls to Christ. So just your story, if we were to cut it off right now, just the way that you made it from growing up in Trenton to getting through Oakwood and making those moves and raising your family and being a full-time student, a full-time father, a full-time family man, that's compelling to start off with. But tell us in this last segment before we wrap up, tell us about, as you became an adult, how did you get into what you're currently doing with Father's List Foundation, with the Dr. Lifeguard moniker? And tell us about this trip that you guys have literally tomorrow. By the time this thing airs, you'll be down in Haiti passing out similar types of ministry and just infusing and blessing our brothers and sisters down in Haiti.
Absolutely. Perfect. So everybody tells us, when you going to get the call? Either they hitting you with, as a PK, either they hitting you with, you the worst of the bunch, or they hitting you with, when you going to go minister. It's either one extreme or the
other. Or both sometimes. It's both in the same week.
Yeah, both in the same, right? And I'm glad you said confused, because I feel so bad for the PKs. But this is how it happened, right? So as I'm there and everybody sees that I'm trying to do it the right thing, I'm in class with my son or whatever, there's a dude, we call him Hustle Man, his name is Don Howard. Don Howard approached me at that same period when I'm coming to class with my son, and he like, Dad, you're doing everything right, man. I said, yeah, man, me and my wife, we got married, you know what I'm saying? We didn't get married after Xavier. We got married a year and a half ago, you know what I'm saying? He came a year later, you know what I'm saying? So we got married. I'm working. I'm not only in school and bringing my son to school, but I'm cooking in Ruby Tuesdays in the evening after I get out of class. And then I'm going to UPS, you know what I'm saying, and I'm preloading trucks at UPS from 3 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., which nobody knew.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because my wife was taking physical therapy, I didn't want her to have to drop out of school. I didn't want to have her to have, you know what I'm saying? Because it always had, you know what I'm saying, you get them pregnant, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know what I'm saying, they can't finish college, whatever. And I didn't want that to happen. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do everything on my part so that I could support her and she could still, you know what I'm saying, finish school. So Don sees me, and Don is detailing cars all over campus. All of the faculty members, Don details the cars. They pull up to the psychology building. Don is there. They're in his appointment book. They give him his key. They go teach class, and they come back out, and they pay Don for detailing their car in the car lot because he had a waterless car wash solution called Dry Washing Guard. He didn't need no water. It was wash, wax, seal, and polish, all in a spray bottle. You know what I'm saying? Car room, showroom detailing in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? So he's getting money. So he rips his appointment book in half and says, dang, I see that you're trying to do everything right, and I want to help you make them ends meet. Boom, I'm going to train you on how to use the product and give you half of my clientele, which he did, and he didn't have to do. You know what I'm saying? So once again, like I told you, I realized that being on that campus gave us access to resources that cats would never bump into a Don Howard and Trent, right? But they deserve every opportunity to run shoulders and have other opportunities besides selling drugs and besides the gangbanging. You know what I'm saying? It's just that nobody gives them access.
Right.
And I determined right then and there, he blessed me, I'm going to bless any and everybody I come in contact with. Every resource that comes into my life, I'm going to use it and multiply it. To me, the parable of the talent is God challenging people to take his resources that he gives them. Talent is not singing. Talent, when it says the parable of the talent, it wasn't talking about you can prophesy or you can preach or you can sing. Talent was currency. It was the currency of the day that the kings exchanged. When you watch Ben-Hur, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Ben-Hur, right? And Ben-Hur, before he had to race with Masala on the chariots, right? The sheik of Midian came to the Romans and was like, whoa, I want to bet on my man. And they was betting with talents, bruh. He opened a case full of talents and stuck his knife down in the talent. Bruh, talents is worth 20 days. If cats really, really study the word, and this is what my thing about ministry. Words say by their fruit you shall know them. It's a lot of cats who claiming to be ministers, but they don't have no fruit that say that they are ministers.
Man.
So I got 20 years worth of fruit. I got cats that would be dead and gone that got back in school off of hooping, bro. Off of hooping.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
That when John gave me that dry washing guard, when we moved to Chicago in 1999, I'm detailing it. I got to Chicago, and I always recruit with basketball, bro. I always recruit. I get down, I get in the summer leagues, I play in the summer league, and you know how I hoop. Everybody in our circle, they know how I hoop. You know
right.
So I get in the summer league, and of course, they my peoples. You know what I'm saying? They know we're gonna win. We're not going to lose. You know what I'm saying? So I got cats that on the street. This not no Christian nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is 9th Park and 10th Park in Chicago, man. You know what I'm saying? Maywood, western suburbs of Maywood. That's where we was at my stomping grounds. So I'm looking up, though. The crazy thing is I look up and, you know what I'm saying, I got cats that's affiliated, gang affiliated, that I'm not even realizing the gang affiliations. You know what I'm saying? Because in my day, Trenton wasn't like it is now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm ignorant to the culture. I'm just there hooping. You my man, and you my man. When I'm going to pick a strong power forward, I'm picking my man.
Right.
When I need a point guard, I'm picking my man. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm seeing them. So I'm getting love from all of these different places, not knowing that cats is gang affiliated, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't matter to me. I was moving in and out, you know what I'm saying, seamlessly. It was nothing. So then once I started realizing my cats was getting locked up and this and that, I approached them with what Don Howard approached me with. I just found some young boys, turned them on to the car detailing thing, put together entrepreneurial mentorship program, and every resource, any business or entrepreneur that's willing to pour into the lives of my young people, whether it's financial literacy, whether it's health and wellness, if you specialize in anything and you're willing to pour back into the community, I pull them into my network of resources and I give my kids access to these individuals. And my network of individuals that pour into the lives of these kids, you know what I'm saying, it includes some giants. You know what I'm saying? E.T. the hip-hop lifetime.
Right.
The cat that I roll with that give back, come on, man, it's only because I was willing to allow my talent to be multiplied. You know what I'm saying? You know how the parable go. The master expects a return from his investment. If he give you that bread, that's a talent was worth 20 years worth of a laborer's wage. The dude who got 5 talents, he got 100 years worth of wages. That's wealth.
And what you're doing, Damon, is so organic, what you guys are doing. I mean, you and Eric. I remember Eric. I know people that, you know, when people think about great individuals that have gone on to success that have gone to Oakwood, I hear Eric's name come up a lot. And I'm like, look, I remember Eric preaching at AY, and I'm like, nobody handed him what he has now. I mean, he's been building this thing for 20 plus years.
Exactly.
It's not like the first time he got up there that everybody stopped what they were doing. I remember him trying to preach his message, and some people were in it, but a lot of people tuned him out. A lot of people were like, man, I'm not trying to hear that. But for him to persevere and continue to kick doors down, you see him now really just off in his own brand and doing his other thing. I mean, I saw you and Eric, I believe Myron Evans was up there. You guys were at Pine Forge ministering to some of the young men in Handy Hall.
Yes,
and
sir.
that thing, the first thing I did, I called Myron up, but I talked to Myron pretty frequently. And I was like, yo, how can I get in on that? You know, how can I get in? That's just a dream, is to be able to go back and get back to Pine Forge and to see you guys doing it big. Some of the guys that came before me, it inspires me to do what I'm doing with my show and do what I'm doing with my league and all
God,
those things, Advent Sports Network, all of those things, because it's just that cycle of life, Damon. You went through it, and now you're pulling people that would have been on the street, and you're helping to pull them off the streets through basketball. Meanwhile, there are people that have theology degrees, like you said, that have been preaching, and they're a preacher by trade, but they don't show the fruit. They're not willing to get their hands dirty. They're not willing to go down to the hood and knock on doors and rub shoulders with people that are going through true struggles.
And if you're not producing fruit, you're not. God said, "Be fruitful and multiply." That was the very first command.
Right.
If you're not producing, if you're not a producer, every seed will bring forth fruit after its own kind.
Man.
Right? You can't be barren. You know what happened to the tree when God came up on the fig tree.
Right.
That had no figs on it. He cursed it. And it withered and died. You cannot be out here calling yourself, and I ain't even talk about ministers, bro. I'm talking about Christians, bro. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of cats, you know what I'm saying, throwing that title around, just giving the master a bad name. You know what I'm saying? Like, he said it. You know what I'm saying? Yo, depart from me. I never knew you. Lord, right. We did this in your name. We cast out, we prophesied. And that's what's going on. It's a lot of people coming up like, when you going to do your ministry? I'm a minister. But God, like, I don't know them. You know who I know? I know the cats over here. He said, yo, come enter into the joy of my Father, because when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. That's why we had a Father's Wish Foundation. All right? The Father's wish is, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospered. Right? So the people who God said, come into the joy of my Father, it was those who he said, when I was naked, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. And they said, Lord, when did we do it? When you did it to the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me.
Wow. So, Damon, close us out, man. Let us know, because I'm almost up against it. Close us out and let us know, what are you guys doing? What is your foundation doing in Haiti over the next few days? And how can my listeners donate or find out about it? Or is anyone you wanna plug, give a shout out to? How can we look up what you guys are doing and be a part of it?
Yeah, everything is at the website. Is www.laishinc.com. That's www.laishinc.com. And to answer your question, what I'm doing in Haiti is I'm just going and doing it to the least of these, my brethren. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? I want to be welcomed into the joy of my Father. I do.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? And I believe that the text says, if you give, you shall receive, pressed down, shaking together, running over, right? The text about tithe says, prove me now herewith. He said, test me. You give, right? And I will rebuke the devourer for your sake. Everybody running around here, wondering why the stuff ain't happening, right? Ends ain't meeting, you working hard, and it ain't enough money to last to the end of the month. That's the devourer in your life. That's Lucifer. Satan is a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. And Christ said, prove me down here with, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts is his, I'm going to war. Whenever I stand up, Michael stands up and goes to war. He's the Lord of hosts. Right? So that's what we do, man. And if people want to get involved, everything that I've done over the past 20 years in my ministry and outreach, I've learned that I got to duplicate myself if I want to reach every nook and cranny, which I do. I don't want to miss a soul. You know what I'm saying? So I have an outreach franchise. I call it the outreach franchise, where we will consult with any and everybody. We'll give you the outreach program straight up. The grants we done written. You know what I'm saying? We'll give you the summer camps, the after-school programs. The mentors that's in our mentoring program, we call them the 3% Access Network because all of them they're all in the top 3% income earners, meaning they make it over $500,000 and above and pouring into these kids. Like, if you want to start doing in your hood what we've been doing for the past 20 years, just go to the website, reach out to us. But by all means, if you want the devourer to be rebuked in your life, trust God and give to this Haiti mission. You can give right now. I got donate now buttons on there. Just go to the website, click it, and give. Buy a T-shirt. We set a goal. First of all, listen, Marty, real quick, I know you're up against it. Marty, who is also a graduate of the class of 93.
He does some work. He works for Adventist Hospital down in Haiti.
Yeah, he's running the Adventist Hospital in Haiti. Yeah, that's where we're going. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I looked up and saw NBC was out there, and he had put a prosthetic limb, you know what I'm saying, helped this dancer who lost a leg in the earthquake. Marty had outfitted her and helped her get back up on her feet, and she can now go back to work and feed her daughter. I was like, oh my goodness. I reached out to him, and my heart was broken. He was like, the program might have to go away, dang. I was like, what you mean, bro? He was like, it's so expensive to bring people in from out of the country to outfit these people. He was like, I got to keep the hospital running, and that program is so expensive. I was like, say no more. I'm going to put together a movement. And when I tell you I put together a movement, man, we are going to, number one, he had a training program in Malawi when he was in Malawi, and cats from the community learned how to be the nurses and stuff. So we want to start a training program there where the earthquake victims themselves can get outfitted for their prosthetic limbs and then become trained to outfit the other people.
Man. Talking about paying it forward. Let's go. We can do it. Just give. That's the moniker we have. Haiti Strong is the mission because there's no more resilient person on the planet than a Haitian. None. Haiti Strong. They withstood everything, and they still standing. These kings and queens, we just going to acknowledge them. We just going to give blessings, and we asking the community, Pine Forge, Oakwood, everybody under the sound of the voice, just give to Haiti Strong. Just give and watch what happens. All week long, I'm going to post. All week long, you can see it. So everybody listening, first of all, thanks for coming on the show, Damon, and just giving a killer interview. Definitely one of our best in season 1 on the Lance J Radio Show. For those listening, check Damon Legette out on Facebook. Look up Haiti Strong. Look up the Father's Wish Foundation. Look up Dr. Lifeguard. Find where you can give and donate. I know Edward Martin. I've worked in the Adventist hospital system as well, and kind of aspire to be in his chair at some point in my career. So these are great young gentlemen that I know personally and have dedicated their lives to service. So, we just appreciate having you, Damon. We're going to have to have you again, man. You have so much insight and things to talk about. And
after I come back, I would love to let y'all know how it went in Haiti. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So we could do a follow-up, and I'll tell you how the Lord just blessed.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot, man. I look forward to talking to you soon. Let's set that up when we get off air, that follow-up. But blessings.
Sounds good.
To the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.